It's the Arvo Flow Sports Hour, and it's time to head to Eddie Dadds from scplaybook.com.au, our resident North American sports expert and the man who is our go-to when it comes to anything weird that goes on in the beautiful world of sport. Eddie Dadds, great to be with you again. How you doing?
Great to be here with you again, Alice. As we were just talking about off air, it's been a pretty big day of sport for me. I was down in Seattle getting a look at the Seahawks versus Cardinals in Seattle, which was incredible. Definitely the best fan experience I've had so far at an NFL game, Ellis.
Well,
they've got it nailed in Seattle.
We certainly spoke about the city of Seattle a fair bit on last week's segment, so it's good to see that you're doing all the legwork, Eddie. Let's get into it then. We'll start in England, where we saw some pretty baffling stuff. We'll go over to the extraordinary event where there was goals that were too big and had to be sewn to the correct size, and thus we had a massive suspension in the game between Hull City and Birmingham. What on earth, Eddie Dadds? How does this stuff not get vetted prior to kickoff? I cannot possibly imagine, but we're talking about a pretty high level here in the English Championship too. A lot of money at stake for clubs vying for Premier League promotion. This is just surely quite unacceptable.
It's incredible, Alice, and it kind of sums up the sort of season that Hull are having by the looks of it. They're 21st on the Championship table. Premier League viewers would be very familiar with Hull. They're often up in the higher echelons, but clearly not going too well at the moment. And they lost to Birmingham today, and the game was pushed back 20 minutes because apparently the goals were 3 inches too large, which I've never heard of happening before, and I have no clue how that could possibly happen. Aren't goals just goals, Ellis? Why are they making goals that are 3 inches bigger?
Oh, look, I mean, all I can imagine is that these goals must have been used for training purposes and not switched over correctly, and it is just baffling. But Birmingham City, they haven't been good for a very long time, Eddie, so this is a defeat that will do a lot of bad things to the confidence and morale of those who form part of the Hull City first team setup. Of course, Hull haven't been going too well either. They were a Premier League mainstay back a few years back, but it's been a very long road to the bottom for them in more recent years. I just find this extraordinary. I might put you on the spot a bit here, Eddie. I know I've done it before and you've passed every time with flying colours. Can you sort of match this with any other baffling sort of incident that's occurred in sport whereby someone's just being negligent, a match official or those who take care of the maintenance side of things? I mean, I'm trying to cast my mind back in the AFL world and nothing really springs to mind, but this is just something that we don't ever see, really.
No, Ellison, well, the one that actually did come to mind, it's definitely not identical, was Wayne Carey knocking his knee on the square-shaped goalpost at Adelaide Oval. For some reason, at AAMI Stadium. For some reason, someone thought it would be a great idea to have rectangular-shaped goalposts, Wayne Carey ran his knee into the corner of one of them and split it open. I think that's really the only one that springs to mind to do with sort of goalposts. But it's completely different to this. I don't think I've ever heard of an AFL game being postponed because they've somehow stuffed up the dimensions of the goal square or anything like that.
Well, funnily enough, Eddie Dadds, it's quite remarkable this, but something pretty similar actually happened in the exact same competition about 15 years ago when we got a ghost goal due to the fact that someone had not stitched up the side netting adequately, and thus what looked to be a goal actually wasn't a goal but got awarded as a goal. This was obviously well before VAR had come into the picture, and just an extraordinary scene. But it appears that the championship is becoming synonymous with these freak occurrences. We'll move along and we'll go to the NHL, the National Hockey League, where the season's in full swing now, Eddie, but we got a pretty extraordinary moment there as well. A very unfortunate one, it has to be said, for a spectating couple that had the kiss cam shine on them. And of course, we're very used to seeing a pretty happy ending and a pretty, romantic outcome come about from those who get caught on the kiss cams, but not to be in this instance.
No, Ellis, and I'm always a little bit of a skeptic when it comes to these viral videos that come out of American sporting games, just because I think that there's too many of them. Surely all of these crazy things couldn't be happening in the crowd, right? But the latest one was at a New York Islanders versus Pittsburgh Panthers NHL hockey match. The couple popped up on the big screen, as you said, in the kiss cam. The man, for some reason, had his shirt off at a hockey game in the ice-cold ice hockey arena. He tried to propose to his ostensible partner, who looked very embarrassed, and then turned him down off camera, and then walked out of the stadium. So definitely not the best plan by that lad, assuming that this actually occurred, Ellis.
I saw some commentators come out and say, well, this just lends credence to the fact that you can never assume that just because you are publicly staging your proposal to your better half that it's going to go the way you want it. Well, I've got to say, it's certainly the first time I've ever seen someone get utterly flatline rejected in a kiss cam exchange. But better news for the opponents of the Islanders. So this fan certainly wouldn't have had a nice day out, assuming he was a home fan, of course. The Islanders losing to the Panthers 3-1. Just tell us a little bit about how this one got on, and just profile where the NHL is at, Eddie.
Well, it's just kicked off, Ellis. Most teams have played their first couple of games, so obviously it's a very, very long season, as we see in some of the American sports. I think, hockey and baseball tend to play the most amount of games, so we've got a long way to go for this season. But not a good start for my Canucks, Ellis. They've played 2 games. They've lost both of them, so that's not looking great. The Vegas Golden Knights looking like they're going to be one of the teams to beat. Again, they're 3-0 in their 3 games. Boston Bruins, the Detroit Red Wings have all yet to lose a game as well. It's shaping up to be a really great season. I just love an ice hockey season starts, Ellis, and you start seeing those viral videos going around of, the massive punch on in the middle of the ice with 3 people throwing down their gloves and going at it on the ice hockey rink. I always find it amazing that sort of that sanctioned fighting is still a part of the game.
Yeah, no doubt, Eddie. Let's stay on the continent. NBA, it's all ramping up. We're nearly at the doorstep of the season. So just bring us in on a little update there from the NBA.
Yeah, it's shaping to be one of the most competitive seasons I think we're ever going to see in the NBA, Ellis. I'm so excited for it. There's about 10 teams going around that have a legitimate chance to win the NBA championship this year. Obviously, the Warriors are looking to go back-to-back. But a lot of teams have been really, really impressive in the preseason. The Philadelphia 76ers are getting a lot of buzz. The Denver Nuggets are getting a lot of buzz. The Los Angeles Clippers are getting a lot of buzz. And as always, there's the soap opera drama that goes on in Los Angeles with the Lakers. Is Russell Westbrook going to come off the bench? Is LeBron going to be finally caught up by Father Time? Who knows? But I'm very excited to see what happens. That kicks off, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday this week, Ellis. And it's going to be a big season.
Very, very excited to see the NBA return. I can't let you go without getting your comments on Namibia in the T20 World Cup, Eddie. This win over Sri Lanka making headlines all over the place, as you would expect. But for those who are uninitiated, which I suspect is probably not that many people that listen to Flow, most people you'll find out in the paddocks love their cricket, Eddie. But perhaps for those like myself who aren't exactly across every game that goes on in the cricket season, this is a very big deal. How big of a deal is it exactly, though? Because Namibia, can't quite say I've ever heard them associated with cricket for any particular reason.
It's a big one, Ellis. It's definitely not one of the all-time greatest upsets. There've been some massive ones. I think Scotland took out England, which was one of the biggest upsets of all time. This is up there, though. I mean, it's the T20 World Cup, so we are going to see a few of these surprise games. But honestly, it's a credit to the way that cricket is sort of trying to spread itself further around the world. Namibia were bowled out for 96 a year ago against Sri Lanka. They were bowled out by 96 and Sri Lanka won by 7 wickets. 12 months later, Namibia beat Sri Lanka in the T20 World Cup. So that's a pretty impressive turnaround. I think, not to say that anything bad about Sri Lanka. I think they've probably had a fair few things going on off the pitch that isn't necessarily helping their cricket program at the moment. But incredible win for Namibia, and hopefully we see a few more of these big upsets in the T20 World Cup.
Certainly keeps things very interesting, let's say that. Eddie Dads from scplaybook.com.au. Before we do let you go, actually, Eddie, what is going on in the SC Playbook world?
There's a bit of Rugby League World Cup on at the moment, Ellis. It probably hasn't been the best publicised event. I've been seeing a few tweets coming up about it, wondering why this isn't being more widely spread through Australia, but it is on at the moment, the Rugby League World Cup. We've got a bit of content around that, and then building up into the WBBL and BBL seasons.
There we have it. Eddie Dads, scplaybook.com.au. Thanks so much for joining us on the Arvo Flow Sports Hour. Look forward to doing it all with you again next week. Very busy man. We appreciate your time. All the best, Eddie.
Thanks, Alice. Speak to you next week.